Hi guys, you know, I've been selling these LJLs, and every time I come up with a new model they get better and better. I've been messing around, you know, this is so simple, and it took me a while to experiment and find this, but this is really simple. It's just a coil of magnet wire. You know, I'd been trying, you know, to modify the SJR type with the primary being a bigger wire and lots of turns of small, you know, magnet wire or bell wire. And then I thought, well, you know, I wonder what would happen. So I just messed around with it, and this is just 20 gauge magnet wire. It's wound on a 4-inch form. 100 turns secondary, 14 turns primary. There's the transistor. This is just a test model, but this works really well. I'd had trouble sometimes, you know, tuning to various light bulbs, and this one is really forgiving. It works CFLs, Utilitech, EcoSmart, really low amp draw, and I'll show you that in a minute. First, I wanted to show you how to wind this, because I'd really like it if you guys could just make these on your own. You can use 26 gauge, 24 gauge, 30 gauge. I'm using 22 gauge. 20 gauge gets a little hefty. I don't think you need to go that hefty. This will conduct plenty of amperage, so there's no worries with that. Okay, so let me show you how to make this. Alright, first, this is my coil winder. You don't have to be this fancy. You can actually wind this on like a 2-liter plastic bottle. You could probably wind it on some kind of Tupperware, something where you can wind it and then slide it off. I've got a special form I use, and it makes it a little easier if I have to make a lot of these. So I'll show you how I do that. One thing you want to do is go ahead and make some labels, so when you're done you don't get confused about where the various wires are going. Alright, there's no tricks about, you know, direction of winding. We're just going to pull this wire in. I give myself about 2 inches, and I'm going to label that. And this is going to be our primary, so we are going to start with positive. Positive and the base are going to be on the same side, so primary will be positive. Okay, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 14. Okay, we're going to stop at 14. That's our primary. And you notice I'm pulling the tail end out that way. That's going to be our collector. Just put that there temporarily. Now, we're going to start the secondary, and we're going to do 100 turns. We're going to turn in the same direction. This is going to be our base. And when we're done, we won't be confused about what we're doing. So this gets 100 turns. 98, 99, 100. Okay, I'm going to take this end, I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to label this high voltage out. That's our secondary. Trim that wire. I'm going to take a couple scraps of magnet wire. I can go under my coil, poke it through, come up here, and I can bind this just so I can pull it off the coil former. Otherwise, if you pull the coil off the former without some kind of temporary tie, it can make a mess. Alright, so we're going to pull it off. Okay, I've cut some tape ahead of time, so when I pull this off, I can kind of bundle it. Alright, so what I've got here, I've got the 3055 transistor. These are just 1 amp diodes. We're going to use that to bridge the base and the emitter. And you can just use a scrap piece of aluminum. This you can get in, lengths at like a Home Depot. Here's our coil. And these are sealing box cover plates. And they make a nice looking little unit when they're screwed together. And this transistor will just mount at the bottom and through and give you a nice clean look on the other side. So I'll put this together and show you how to work. The diode, very simple. Identify the base. The package will show you which is the base. And so it's this one right here. We're going to want the cathode end aimed towards the base. If you can see that. And you can just curl this around twice. Okay, that is the emitter. It's going to go negative on your 12 volt DC. This is the base. And then sand those. A little bit of sandpaper. Alright, so I've hooked the base up to the base. The wire marked collector just goes to the chassis of the transistor. And we're going to take one of our high voltage outputs to the bulb and we're going to connect it to collector. So we actually have two junctions there. The copper wire comes and then we're going to come off our high voltage to the bulb. And we're going to take another wire to the bulb to our high voltage out. So we're going to just see what we get. And it works. It's really simple. And it works well. Let's try it, not with 12 volts. Let's try it with a little tiny 9 volt battery. See if it'll work. Voila. So it's pretty forgiving on voltage. You could probably also, run it up to 20 volts. But there you have it. So really easy coil. I mean, you can make this. I don't mind making them for people. But just as an option, if you have some spare wire around and buy a transistor and have a diode, really simple. You could mount this on a board. I think it's good to put the transistor on a heat sink, but in this scenario now with the diode, these don't get warm. I mean, they might if you really push it. So just a scrap piece of aluminum, use a little thermal paste on it. You shouldn't have any problems. 14 watt. Here's the CFL. So now we are drawing 1.8 amps. Three bulbs. There's two bulbs. And what will it do with one? We are at 0.2 amps. And let me see, I'm going to angle this so you can really see just how darn bright that is.